This is Binghamton Now on News Radio 1290 WNBF Binghamton and WNBF.com.
Now, another big broadcasting week for Binghamton's most enjoyable live talk program. Bob Joseph with Binghamton Now. It's time to begin. 607-772-1290 is the Binghamton Now number. Go ahead, make that call. WNBF. It's Monday, July 29th, 2024. As we take to the air, we have so much to talk about. Yes, so much. So much to talk about, and you're welcome to discuss if you wish. Let's see, try to catch up on email here. Let's just page down. Sometimes people send emails. Here's one from Heather. Heather sent information about the Christopher Cross concert. So we went to this concert in Hammondsport on Saturday, and this happened. Never in a million years would I have thought that someone would get kicked out of a Christopher Cross concert. Thank you, Heather, for bringing that to my attention. That's right. Of all the concerts where you would expect trouble, a Christopher Cross concert is fairly low. Out of the top 100 concerts where trouble could be anticipated, where a rabble-rouser would have to be removed by security, I did not think Christopher Cross would be one of those places, but sometimes it happens. I wrote back to Heather, thanks for calling this to my attention. What was he doing that prompted him to leave early? And she said, not quite sure. He was in front, and we were in the back a few songs prior. Christopher said, knock it off, man. I think the guy was getting in the way of other people while he was recording. I'm not quite sure. And then all of a sudden, it escalated into what was caught on camera. So, whatever. As far as I know, nobody was injured. No indication he was arrested. Just think on the back of your ticket for every event, well, these days, not on the back of your ticket. When you buy your ticket online, usually there's some sort of legalistic language that assures you that they have every right to expel you from the event, and you have no recourse. I think the language usually is something to the effect, we reserve the right to kick you out at any time for any reason, no questions asked, and no refunds. So basically, that puts you on notice. Puts you on notice to behave, which you shouldn't have to be put on notice anyway, but in this day and age, people have to be frequently reminded. Behave. Just behave. But when some of our leaders can't behave, as they say, what do you really expect? Well, he doesn't have to behave, so why should I? Because there are two sets of rules in this country. There's a set of rules for billionaires, and then there's a set of rules for everyone else. So if you are a billionaire, odds are you don't really have to behave. There's no requirement that you behave. There might be an expectation. As they say, it would be nice if everybody in this country would behave and show some manners. But if you're a billionaire, let's face it, That's the whole point of being a billionaire. Nobody can tell you what to do. I mean, you decide. You decide what to do if you're a billionaire. So, morning, WNBF. You're on the air at 9:15. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Carol from JC. Well, I was waiting for other people to call, but you're not answering any calls. So I guess I'll start it off by talking about that lovely woman who's going to be running for president.
Oh, yeah, Kamala Harris. She's not going to be running. She is running. And 99 days until the biggest decision of our lives.
I love it that Sean Hannity keeps a running tally as to how many days until...
Yeah, I personally don't, because and he's got that voiceover guy. No matter what happens, it could be a sunny day and everybody's getting free lamb speedies, and that guy makes it sound like we're going straight to Hazleton in a handbasket. So, I mean, it's cute. I occasionally mention how many days are left between now and the election, but starting off that program, and has he stopped calling it the new Sean Hannity show finally? Because for the last 10 or 20 years, he's called it the new Sean Hannity show, and I've studied it closely, and I haven't seen anything new, but I guess they finally dropped that. But anyway, that's not why you called. So you're concerned about Kamala Harris? Explain.
Well, I also have, let me preface my conversation about her by saying I was someplace about 2-3 weeks ago, and I wish I could remember because I had been to so many Billy Flynn festivals. There was a lamb speedy salad. Lamb speedy salad. It was $14. I wish I could remember where the heck I was. But it was, it's like already over with, so it won't do you any good. You can just dream about it. A lamb speedy salad.
I can fantasize.
Yes.
I've never seen that. That's intriguing.
Well, it was $14, whatever it was.
All right. Well, I'll keep my eyes open. I mean, let's be clear.
It's over with, the whatever it was event.
Right. But there still are a few more festivals over the next 6 weeks. So the people who were selling a lamb speedy salad might be out somewhere else. So, and for that matter, I'll put out, this is the Binghamton Now Challenge. Anybody who knows who was selling the lamb speedy salad, be caller number 1 at 607-772-1290. So I will have the information I need.
Okay, well, I don't have anything nice to say about what's-her-face, but I will say that people who I heard, and it wasn't any, too many people are talking about AI. Well, that's not true. They didn't really say that. Well, I heard Joe Biden say that he is putting her in charge of the border. And I remember people in the background, and any news that I ever hear is always on your station because I have 6 radios in the house, cellar, upstairs, downstairs, porch, you name it, I got radios. And so whatever I turn it on, it's on 1290 AM. Oh, and I want to talk to you about that AM legislation that's going on, if I don't take up too much of your time. But anyway, people did cheer in the background when he said that. So I think all the Dems are negating that statement. I don't know how they can, if they can lie about something that big, then there's nothing stopping them from telling little white lies. Sometimes they're big white lies. It's just unbelievable. Okay, so what was the other thing I said I was going to talk about? The AM. What is that legislation that we have to text? I'm not texting any number, because I don't want anybody to, start bugging me because it says you might be getting text back. So is that a federal thing that they're trying to not put AM stations on new cars being manufactured?
Well, some companies already sell cars, like Tesla. Yes, there are several companies who already are selling cars with no AM radio. Tesla,
how do they do that?
BMW, because it's a free world. There's no requirement. In fact, there's no requirement that a car even have a radio. They put the radio in as a public service. They, as a car company, and look, I love AM radio. I grew up on AM radio. I've been on AM radio for virtually all of my life.
That's like the basis of radio.
Right, but on the other hand, look at our newspapers. Nothing lasts forever. I mean, that'd be like mandating Gannett will have to have a print newspaper 7 days a week in every market, and also print it in the town where it's, where it happens. Gannett, can you imagine if Gannett was required to open up a printing place in Broome County again for the Press and Sun Bulletin instead of printing it in New Jersey? Hey, it's a free country. Businesses can do whatever the heck they want. That's American freedom.
I have talked to people in the past month. They're not even aware of the fact that the paper is being printed in New Jersey, or in New Jersey is what I like to say.
Right, because the newspaper goes to great lengths not to publicize it. I think, and again, this is just me talking, because I love disclosure. I think every newspaper should write in in a specific place on every front page, could be the lower left corner, say, this paper was printed, for example, in Rockaway, New Jersey.
Wasn't that their second or third move? Wasn't it being printed in Rochester at one time?
Yeah, near Rochester. I mean, here is, let's reconstruct the history of the Binghamton newspaper. They started in April 1904, printing one of America's finest newspapers on Shenango Street in Binghamton.
Which was a thrill to watch from the sidewalk as you look down into the basement.
Sure, that was a thrill. Then they said to Binghamton, effectively, drop dead. So the paper, which, got its life as Binghamton Press, told Binghamton, figuratively speaking, drop dead. They moved to the suburbs because they didn't want to support the city of Binghamton anymore. So they moved to Vestal, across from SUNY Binghamton, in the mid-'60s, and started printing their paper here. At least, even if they told Binghamton to drop dead, they still just moved their printing plant a few miles to the west. So they were in Vestal. That was bad, but they decided they could make it.
That was around 94, 95, I remember, because...
No, it was in the 60s. It was around 64, 65.
Well, I mean, I worked there at that building when, after 31 years at Link, when I got laid off.
Well, my mom worked at that building at Gannett on the Parkway. She loved it. That's back when they actually were allowed to have workers. She actually enjoyed working at the Press and Sun Bulletin back on the Parkway. But, you don't need to know that. She was happy. She had good things to say about the newspaper. But fortunately, I mean, I miss my mom dearly, and I wish she were around, but I'm glad she doesn't have to see what they've done with her favorite papers. Okay, so what happened after Vestal? You were going to... So then the people at Gannett decided, people at Gannett decided that they're going to take advantage of a major brownfield program and therefore ding New York State taxpayers, good people, hardworking people like you and me, for a major break with the brownfield program to build their printing plant over in Johnson City at the site of a former Endicott Johnson factory, a former contaminated site. So that plant was subsidized by you and me, hardworking New York taxpayers, for a company that was based now outside New York. They moved their headquarters from New York to Virginia because they told New York to drop dead. Then they operated their printing plant there for 12 years. Then they shut it down, putting nearly 100 hardworking Americans on the employment line, including many of our friends and neighbors. They moved the printing operations to a small place outside Rochester for a while. Then they shut that down, eliminating another 100 jobs. And then they abandoned New York altogether, and that now they're printing it in a place called Rockaway, New Jersey. They were never in Elmira, were they? Or were they in Elmira? Well, they had, back in the day, they had a printing plant in Elmira. That's another thing that happened when we hardworking New York taxpayers subsidized their new printing facility in Johnson City. As soon as that opened, they shut down the printing facilities, separate printing plants in Elmira and Ithaca. So more people were left out of work. because of the new printing facility, because then the Johnson City print site was the place where Binghamton, Elmira, and Ithaca papers were produced. So it's a sorry saga, and yet it's just reflective of the overall decline of print newspapers. And in the defense of Gannett,
really, in defense of?
Yes,
okay,
I mean they're a company. They make decisions. This gets back to the basic thing about the car makers, whether or not they want to install AM radios. Why should they be compelled to install an AM radio in their car? If Elon Musk doesn't want a Tesla to have an AM radio, he should have the right not to include it.
Well, if that legislation goes through as to, because that was the one thing they were saying on the radio, on your radio station, that was the bipartisan type of thing that was actually happening, that they were for keeping AM in radios. So I guess what I was going to ask you is, because this is, part of what you do for a living, would they be, who else would I contact other than having to text? It is a federal thing, correct?
Yes, it's something in Congress. So, it's something in Congress to save AM radios in cars. Basically, it's un-American because it would require automakers to include something in their cars that's not essential for safety. It's just because Congress wants to force car makers to include AM radios, even if they don't want to.
But the safety thing, the thing that they're saying is that's where the majority of announcements are made regarding certain emergency situations. So,
well, they can say what they want. They had better back it up with facts.
Well, I don't ever.
I mean, it's a free country, so the people who support requiring AM radios in all cars sold in the U.S., they're allowed to say what they want, but just like anybody else in this country, it doesn't have to be true.
I'd love to hear what John has to say about that.
Oh, I'm sure John has no opinion.
Oh. Well, at least I don't cackle like what's-her-face. Are you there? I know you're there. Okay.
I'm exercising. This is my pledge, at least for today. And this is probably only going to be a one-day deal, so people ought to embrace it while it lasts. Between now and noon, I'm going to exercise incredible self-restraint.
Well, I just wanted to remind you again about Portland coming into town. And, of course, they are a Bosox farm team. So I'm looking. I just happen to have a schedule by the phone here. 15. Oh, I can't see this small print. 13th of August, which is a Monday. They will be 13th till Saturday the 18th. 13 to 18. Portland Sea Dogs.
They're going to have a game on Monday?
No, I didn't say Monday. I said, did I say Monday? I should have said Sunday. From Tuesday to Sunday. The 13th to the 18th. I'm squinting to read this small print. Monday to Sunday. See, I did say Monday. Tuesday to Sunday. 13 to 18 of August. Okay?
Okay, I'll be there.
Okay.
You look for me.
Well, you know where I said. Oh,
I know. The last time I went to a game, I looked exactly where you were supposed to be seated, and you were not in your assigned seat.
It was under the roof.
I know. You told me that later, but that didn't help me in the meantime. I was in tears. Figuratively, because I go to the stadium looking for about 6 specific listeners, and you weren't where you were supposed to be.
Well, you will have to tell me later who the other 5 are.
No. They're protected by HIPAA.
You and that HIPAA.
I know. It's starting to get really old really fast. That's another thing. In addition to exercising extreme restraint between now and noon, I promise not to mention HIPAA again today.
Oh, well, I do know some of them, unless you've already met them, because...
Yeah, whatever you do, don't name names, because we respect everyone's privacy.
No. Because I know well, I won't go into it.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk privately about people who go to the games, but some people, including some high-level people, go to games, but they don't necessarily want that broadcast on AM radio.
I have one question. Have you heard from Joan lately? Because I have not heard her voice in a while.
It's been a while, but I think it's been less than a month. She's busy. The last I knew, when she's listening to the program, she's operating a business, and I believe that when she's busy, she doesn't have time to call into the program, because as you know, sometimes you get right through, sometimes you might be waiting for an extended period before you get on the air.
Well, if she's listening, I did stop at her place a number of months ago. It was last fall. There was a note on the door that said, "Be back in," and she translated 5 minutes into the number of seconds. I got a chuckle out of that. And I waited probably 15 minutes, and she never showed up back. So, and I haven't...
Well, maybe she got caught in traffic over the GW. I don't know.
Well, okay. I'll let you go. Let someone else talk.
Thanks.
About the upcoming presidential.
Really?
candidate.
Why we support Kamala Harris. That'll be the theme between now and noon here on WNBF. If you support Kamala Harris, call in and explain the reasons why you've decided to support her instead of the former guy. 607-772-1290. It's a community conversation on a Monday morning on News Radio, WNBF, 1290 AM, 92.1 FM, and streaming at WNBF.com. The Binghamton Now program moving forward at 9:33, providing the very best in weather. Imagine, if you will, that I'm now going to provide the weather standing on a deck. Imagine, if you will, I'm standing on a deck high atop the Binghamton Now building. All right, enough of that. Yikes. 9:34. So again, we have no deck per se, but because radio is the theater of the mind, our deck is the biggest and best deck imaginable. Here's the forecast from the National Weather Service. Cloudy early, then gradual clearing today, high 86. Partly cloudy tonight, low 68. Increasing clouds tomorrow with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, high 87. Partly sunny Wednesday with showers and thunderstorms likely, a high 85. By the way, for those who are interested, Thursday looks quite nice. Warm, but rain-free. Thursday, mostly sunny, high 90. Right now, 67 in downtown Binghamton. And for you weather nerds, it's 19 Celsius. And for people who love clean air, our air quality index in Binghamton now is 61. Moderate. Like your host. If you're unusually sensitive to particle pollution, consider reducing your activity level or shorten the amount of time you are active outdoors. By the way, with the air quality now moderate and no longer good, now you have an excuse when your boss tells you to get out on the deck. You get out on the deck. You say, no, I just heard Bob say the air quality is moderate. I'm not going to jeopardize my health. I'll stay inside here in the climate-controlled comfort. It's 9:36 WNBF. Let's see if anybody else has managed to send. Jesse just issued a threat. Jesse from Owego threatens, I'm not calling in. All right. I'm deleting that, by the way. From now on, Jesse, if you're going to keep with the negative commentary about certain people, it's instantly deleted. I am not calling in. See, all he would say is something bad. So delete and delete everything. Hold on. Well, let's see. Oh, about the voiceover announcer from John Hannity's show. Most likely that voiceover announcer made all of that a year in advance, so most likely it's still the new John Hannity show. All right. Yeah, as I said, I know some radio stations, they switch format. The new talk, whatever. I was going to use an example, and I didn't want to make people at other radio stations in town disappointed. So we'll just say the new Talk 92.1, the hottest talk with the coolest hosts, something like that. Say you rebrand and say you start it on August 1st and you keep calling it the new Talk 92.1, and you say it's new for about 10 or 15 years, and then it's time for a format change. You know, it has that new station smell. And it's like, no, it sounds like the same old shows you guys were doing. You just rebranded. You simply rebranded. Yeah, but it's still new to you. No, I've been listening to it now for years, so it's the newness. It didn't sound new on day one. That was the thing with Hannity when he rolled out this new imaging with the voiceover guy. It didn't sound any different than the previous Friday. Trust me, I work here at the station, so I know how the shows operate. I was going to call him, then I thought, he's not going to take my call. He doesn't want to hear from Bob in Binghamton. It's 9:38 WNBF, the station that cares for you. Hi, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
First name Scotty, a.k.a. the Golden Gate Boy from California.
Welcome back.
Future President of the United States, my brother.
Welcome back.
To the show that never ends. So, Bobby, you know, I gave a little more mayonnaise to Kamala. I say it correctly. I know your viewers have a problem with that.
And they do it on purpose, just like just like the former guy. You know, what if, and this is just for, this is an illustration, this is not to be taken seriously, but what if people started calling him Dan?
Well, you know,
or Dan, or whatever, and it would be like after a while, even he would start to say, all right, I get it, you're just trying to be mean to me by mispronouncing my name.
Well, you know, I'm not going to call him the former guy anymore. Have you ever heard of the piano player, Thelonious Monk?
I certainly have.
Thelonious Trump. There you go. No more former guy for me. No more former guy.
Who knows? You could contact the Kamala campaign headquarters. They might, they're good at moving forward with online advertising. They could have that on the air by, let's see, it's 6:40 your time. They could have that online by 8 o'clock your time, because
Thelonious Trump. Anyhow, Bobby, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
I got a question. What is Donald Trump or Thelonious Trump's favorite 2 words?
You're fired.
Bingo. Buyer's remorse over J.V. Dan. I'll bet the farm he's fired by August 15th.
But how could he do that?
And you know what? J.V. Dance is just plain weird.
Well, that's another thing. Weird. I was waiting. You know, I was tempted to start the program off with that. I mean, just with, because this is, you know, it's 5 letters, and if they keep hammering away at this, as far as weird, if you think about it, and it's true, and I don't mean this in a bad way, you know, some people say, oh, you're being dismissive if you call a particular party or their anointed candidates, if you call them weird. But I mean, and again, I'm trying to do this in a considerate way. But since you brought it up, and listeners should keep in mind, I didn't bring it up. Don't look at me. It's Scotty from California. I was tempted to bring this up first thing when the program started 30 minutes ago, but some anonymous listener from some state has brought this up, so.
You may have noticed Donald Trump has been resorting to some wild lies about my record, and some of what he and his running mate are saying, well, it's just plain weird. I mean, that's the box you put that in, right?
Bobby, would you rather die by shark attack or parachute not open?
Well, you know, they could do, you know how Hannity, and don't never get me wrong, I love Hannity. He's like another host on the station, so of course I love him. I don't have to necessary every aspect of his show.
Bobby, is his name Hannity or Hanratty? I always get that mistaken. Hanratty. Stop it. Be nice. Remember this. What's his name? I'm very, my brain doesn't work.
We're talking about the Hannity. I was just about to make a point, though. Hannity's program.
Get to the point, Bobby. Get to the point.
Never mind. All right. What else were you going to say?
I was watching, I think it was MSNBC, and they showed Kamala Harris. She was interviewing Jeff Sessions during his AG. They had to go through all the Senate and everything, confirmation hearings. Do you remember that? She was questioning him. He's like, "You're making me go too fast. I'm thinking too quick. I'm getting nervous up here." Do you remember that?
Oh, who could forget?
Just play it, Bobby. That's hysterical, man. Another weirdness, man. Those Republican weirdness. Play it.
I don't have a big stack of stuff.
Come on, sure you do. At your fingertips, man.
No, I don't play stuff by request. It's not Casey Kasem. Hey, you say it, we play it. No, I'll play what I want to play when I want to play.
Now, I got one more observation. Last week, one of your curmudgeonly viewers was threatening to shoot people. And he owns guns. Good Lord.
But you noticed how I quickly responded to that by saying that people who talk about shooting other people, even if they're not serious, and I don't believe. How do you know
he's not serious?
I don't believe. No, there's no way to know. That's why I almost instantaneously had to tell him that if you talk about shooting people or acts of violence, your call may be ended. And
it wasn't. You kind of talked him down off the ledge.
I did, but I warned him in no uncertain terms. In the future, if you talk about shooting someone, that's going to be a problem.
Well, let's put it. Did he want to shoot people when they're flying the flag upside down?
I don't know. Let's move on. .org.
Okay, let's move on. But the weirdness just continues on that other side. It's like, mark my words, J.V. Dance is gone by August 15th.
I don't know. I can understand.
Right.
I can understand why the former guy would want to dismiss his most recent DEI hire, but the thing is, he's kind of backed himself into a corner. How exactly do you finesse that? It's one thing to talk about it on America's favorite talk show, originating from Binghamton, New York, but to actually do that, how exactly? I mean, they've got to come up with a cover story beyond, he's a little more weird than we thought. Well, we didn't vet him, because that's another thing that Hannity talks a lot about with any candidate he doesn't like. Oh, we've got to vet them. That's what he did in 2016, 2020, and now he says with Kamala Harris, or however he pronounces her name. And I think he usually pronounces her name right. I don't know. But he's always talking now about vetting her. It's like she's been vetted. Compared to J.D. Vance, who was, in my personal opinion, that's all this is, I believe J.D. Vance was insufficiently vetted by the former guy and the people who run his operation. If they did some vetting, they would realize somebody who wrote that kind of a book is not necessarily the type of person you want to consider to be the 48th president.
Let's put it this way. All, felonious Trump wanted to do was just get more MAGA heads. I mean, he's already got the MAGA heads. He's not expanding the map. It's like,
well, and that's the key. And that's why, in my opinion, that some people, part of the Republican Big Tent, are worried because with Kamala Harris now in charge of the operation, now they found a way to persuade Joe Biden to go back to Scranton. ahead of schedule. Now that they've done that, understandably, many of the Republicans who took it for granted that it was going to be a cakewalk, now they're starting to squirm.
Squirm big time. And let's put it this way. When is the last time you've seen this excitement in a political campaign?
Never. I've seen so many political campaigns over the years. I've never, ever seen this sort of excitement in any presidential campaign.
No. And, myself and my friends are giving mayonnaise to the cause, man. I'm going to join the White Dudes for Kamala call this afternoon. I'll let you know how it goes.
All right. Keep me posted. That's the story from Northern California, making contemporary news. So, what do you think? Obviously, not everybody will agree with Scotty. If you don't agree with Scotty, you could call, or maybe you agree with Carol from Johnson City. All voices are heard on this station. 607-772-1290. This is Bob Joseph. You're listening to Binghamton Now, 92.1 FM, 1290 AM. We've got you covered. Amplitude modulation or frequency modulation, or both. You decide. And also online, WNBF.com. All righty, back to the phones we go. Processing as many calls as humanly possible. Dan in Binghamton, you're on the air.
Morning, Bobby. Hey, this weekend or Friday or so, I was listening to something on, on some news that the Republicans are threatening a civil war. And I thought to myself, jeepers, that'd be great. Get everybody in Florida and Texas. You know how brave those guys in Texas are. They had a school shooting. They had 100 and some guys waited outside for 2 or 3 hours and let some guy kill a bunch of kids. And they're talking about the South is going to rise again. I mean, are you kidding me? These guys are nothing but a bunch of big hats and big mouths.
Well, I mean, they're entitled, and definitely when you think of Texas, say what you want about Texas, it is a big state.
And definitely when you think of Texas, say what you want about Texas.
I guess there's no way to refute that, because of all the states I know, it's definitely one of the biggest. 951 Airport Road. Bob, you're on the air. All right, Matt from Binghamton, the former mayor of this fine city. Matthew Ryan, good morning.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, can you cue up that what Donald Trump said about to the evangelical voters, because I just want to hear his own words so your voters know what he said, and I'm not making it up, about how just vote this one more time, I will fix it so good that you won't have to vote anymore, which is what, a lot of people are concerned that he's, tried to stay in office when he got defeated last time, and now he's saying, if I win this time, and with Project 2025 and everything he's talking about, and has the Supreme Court on his side saying he can officially do any act he wants, that we have some real concern about that. So that's what he said this weekend. I will fix it something like I will fix it so good that you won't have to vote anymore. And then there was Trey Gowdy, which I was surprised. He really took J.D. Vance to task and about his childless cat lady proposal. And if you play that out, if we, say we deport the tens or millions of people they say they're going to deport if they win, and then all these, where are we going to, so say everybody has children, they get their way, and they have the Handmaid's Tale children type scenario where women's place is in the home and only having children. Who's going to pay for the then there won't be any women to work because they don't want them to work either if they're following that model. But if they do have to work, who's going to pay for the child care? Oh, by the way, it's only Democrats that really, until recently, have cared about child care. So there's so many things that, really is weird about the Republican Party right now and all the things they purportedly stand for. But they, if they have all their ways, the economy will absolutely collapse if they deport or detain so many workers in our country who have been here for many, many years, who are also contributing to the Social Security system and keeping that afloat, even though they never will get any benefits from it. We live in an imperfect world, but the world they want is truly scary, will destroy the economy, and I don't know where it will lead, but it's not going to be pretty.
Well, I don't think there's anything to worry about. Did you hear...
nothing to worry about.
Nothing to be concerned about. Did you hear President Biden has a new proposal for the Supreme Court?
Yes, I did.
Well, you're an attorney, so if it please the court, I'd like to hear your initial reaction to what President Biden will propose later today when he visits Texas.
Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't read the whole thing, but the gist of it is that each president gets to appoint, I think, one or two, and so it won't be so partisan. Because, let's face it, what's brought this on is the Federalist Society, who got 1 point. The guy, Leonard Leo, who swung this whole thing and created this churning out of all these very, very conservative justices that know every Republican will now use that list. So that's what started all this. So if you have this and no ethics code for the Supreme Court, so if you have those two in combination, you're going to have a very right-wing court. And it's the court, we used to have, there's a lot of people that appointed by Republicans in the past where they didn't have such a litmus test and this whole pipeline made up by the very conservative Republicans, that we used to have Republican-appointed justices that often, ruled the way they thought that they should rule because that's what the Constitution and what all precedent showed. And now we have the opposite. Now these guys are giving almost total immunity to saying that the president is pretty close to can't be prosecuted for anything he does in an official capacity, which could mean many, many things, as we know. The Justice Department could be totally revamped. He could change civil service so it truly is a swamp. That's why we have civil service, so you don't have the swamp. There's so many things, but I think Joe Biden's and many, many people in the country, when you have an organization whose public opinion is less than 20%, or pretty close to that now, we need change. And if we want to make it fair so that it's not an ideologues on the court who are doing crazy things with precedent and creating chaos in our country, then Joe Biden's right on track. And he's got, I think I'm glad to hear all the details today.
Well, as a public service, I just noticed the Washington Post, which is property of Jeff Bezos, today has published an opinion piece. And right at the top of the opinion piece, it says the writer is President of the United States. So I just tweeted that opinion piece that's on the Washington Post website written by Joe Biden. And the headline is, "My plan to reform the Supreme Court and ensure no president is above the law." And the subhead says, "We can and must prevent the abuse of presidential power and restore the public's faith in our judicial system." So I just came across that less than a minute ago. So it's a public service so people know what we're talking about. If you're following the program on Twitter at Binghamton Now, you can see what Mr. Biden's thoughts are about the Supreme Court.
Well, let's not forget, too, what happened here. Remember, Mitch McConnell would not allow the Democrats when President Obama had it, when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, would not allow him to appoint somebody because they said it was too close to an election. And every Republican, this was the most glaringly, Lindsey Graham say, "If we try to do this, you can tell me that I'm full of it and don't let us do it." And then there was only a couple weeks left when they put Amy Coney Barrett in office. And so they're just total hypocrites.
Well, and yet they're trying the best they can. Thank you. That's Matt from Binghamton, the former mayor, Matthew Ryan. It's 9:58. More calls are coming right up on the Monday edition with Binghamton Now. I'm Bob Joseph, live and local on News Radio WNBF. We're joined now by Whitney Glennon of Guthrie Lords, and there is going to be a community health fair coming up on Wednesday in Johnson City, and Whitney has some information about the special event. Good morning.
Good morning, Bob. Thanks for having me.
Well, good to have you with us on the program. Tell us what will be taking place on Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Well, Guthrie Lords Hospital invites you to join them July 31st at the First Presbyterian Church Health Fair, located 2 Main Street in Johnson City. Our Guthrie Lords mobile mammography van will be there providing annual screenings along with the Guthrie Dental mobile van. We're going to have members of the Guthrie Lords Health and Fitness team as well as Guthrie Lords Hospital Oncology Navigators. But there will also be many other local service organizations there as well. So we're hoping that everyone can stop by, take a gander, educate themselves. And that's going to be Wednesday, July 31st from 10 till 4 at the First Presbyterian Church located 2 Main Street in Johnson City.
And I always tell people the church is located where the arch used to be.
Yes, exactly.
It still is weird to drive between, to be going between Binghamton and Johnson City and say, hey, somebody stole the arch. And it turns out nobody stole it. It's just part of the renovation project. So it's coming back.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So again, this will be on Friday, July 31st, First Presbyterian Church of Johnson City at 2 Main Street. That's just to the east of Floral Avenue. Well, it sounds like a good event. Are you going to be there?
Yes, I will. I'll be working alongside the Guthrie Lords mobile mammography van.
All right. Well, it looks like it should be a fairly nice day. Actually, the temperature won't be too hot, 85 and partly sunny. So it sounds as though it'll be a perfect day for people to show up for the community health fair.
Definitely. Don't miss this opportunity to learn more about staying healthy.
Whitney Glennon from Guthrie Lords here in Binghamton. Thanks for joining us on WNBF.
Thanks, Bob.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
It's 10:14 at News Radio WNBF 607-772-1290. Taking a lot of calls today because people are really excited. This is the most excitement we've seen in a presidential election campaign in several decades in the USA. So it's nice that people finally are energized. And who would have thought? Who would have thought just say 2 weeks ago that there would be this kind of enthusiasm for a presidential campaign? Usually it's the same old people. Why can't they find some new people to run? Well, now they found a new person to run. So it's funny that some people are saying, well, I don't like this person. Well, you don't have to like her, but she is new. It's not the same predictable people over and over the same. Every presidential election feels like deja vu. Not this year. It's 10:15 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Andy from Vestal. Good morning, Bob.
Hey, Andy. What's going on, man?
Hey, man. I sent you an email a few weeks ago regarding, again, I'm always on the clean speak. I'm not going on the political scene. You have enough people talking about it, so I won't have to voice my opinion. But I am concerned, and as you know, I'm the one, Mr. Clean Freak here, worrying about the city of Binghamton looking like we're the poor relatives in the southern tier of looking like we need to be panhandling because our city is so filthy. Or even the county in general. But I go up to the city of Norwich once a month. I'm a volunteer at the Northeast Car Museum, and when I go into the city of Norwich, I noticed that the city, and I put it to Mayor Cram's attention as well as Mayor Dolinger, who's the mayor of Norwich, of the difference between the cleanliness, just the appearance of the city, approaching city of Norwich versus the city of Binghamton, depending on where you're coming from the city of Binghamton, maybe get lucky and see something a little better. But I from the vantage points that I've come in the city of Binghamton, normally it's sort of to be very honestly, appearance-wise, a disappointment. But I even try to connect the two mayors together because I CC'd, I include both of them on the email. Mayor Dollinger was most happy to share with Mayor Cram. I have not heard from Mayor Cram's office anything as to say, well, thank you. I've connected with Mayor Dollinger's office, and let's see what he does versus what we don't do, or maybe I will help me to improve. And that's where it stands. So I thought maybe since you're a great voice piece for the for the Broome County area, I thought maybe you might have a better connection with Mayor Cram than I do.
Well, I can email him. I usually, if I want to,
you have him on once a month, right?
Oh yeah, he is coming on later this month. I think he's going to be on next week. So if I think of it, okay, I'll ask him. I mean, usually in the times between his appearances here at WNBF, if I have a story I'm working on, I'll send an email to the mayor, and then usually he gets back to me with some basic information. So I'll probably hold off on this until the next time he's here in the studio, because then we can talk about all sorts of city issues. I haven't been to Norwich in a while. I like Norwich, but I just don't get there that often. So one of these days, maybe I'll drive up there next weekend or whatever.
You should come up on Sunday. I can give you a tour of the car museum.
Well, maybe I will, because I've never been to the car museum. That's the odd thing. I've meant to go to the car museum, and I just never have had the opportunity to visit. So maybe I'll put that on my list of possible things to do next Sunday.
Yep, I work the 11 to 3 shift, and I'm telling you, and there's a great bakery up there too. That's a French bakery up there on the way. That's right in the right next to KFC and Taco Bell. Les Maisons Blanc is the name of it. It's a real authentic French.
Oh, maybe I could go up and buy myself a baguette.
You certainly could. You can certainly. I recommend the croissants. They're really good. Excellent. I've never been to France, but I'm told that's pretty much Parisian as you're going to get up there. And their price points are amazingly way cheaper than if you go to various places like Panera, which is like a couple dollars more for not quite the same thing.
Huh, interesting. All right, I am looking at your email now. I did not mention it on the air. You sent that on July 5th, and I did receive it, but I didn't have a chance to mention it on the air. But I will plan to mention to Mayor Cram when he's on in a few days, if he had a chance to read it and what he thinks about it. Because what I know about Mayor Cram is that he does care about the way the city looks. So if he had a chance to read your note, maybe he will get in touch with the mayor of Norwich. Who knows? Maybe I can invite the mayor of Norwich down to Binghamton for a lamb speedy.
Absolutely, or maybe you can bring the mayor up on Sunday with you to the car museum, and he can see for himself what I'm talking about.
All right, I may do that. Right. It sounds like an idea. I love ideas. 1020 at News Radio WNBF, the place for the best ideas, with the best callers and the best guests. Nobody does it better. According to Carly Simon. What else is going on? Take another call. Why not? Why not take lots of calls? I want to know what people think. Hi, you're on the air. It's 1021. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Maybe you'll change your mind when I identify myself.
I doubt it, though. John from Binghamton, what's on your mind?
I concur with the general condition of the city of Binghamton. You know, I have had the pleasure of working and having to travel everywhere from Utica to Canandaigua, all kinds of small towns, and similar populations, and it's just a whole lot cleaner everywhere. It's I just think that they never went dirty like we did, and I think that the city has a lot of anomalies and peculiarities that need to be addressed. Everything's out of balance. One of the things I did on Friday, Bob, was I submitted 2 resolutions that would allow council to amend the city charter. Of course, there would be a vote on it. And the first resolution is to go to a city manager council form of government rather than the current mayor council form of government. It's not a screwball idea. It's not a weird idea. It's an idea that is in place everywhere from Batavia to most recently Ithaca. A professional manager is hired instead of the mayor. He's the administrator. He or she answers the council. And you have someone that is not interested in re-election and photo opportunities and can address the issues. The accountability is, and the voters say is expressed in their council vote and not a vote for a title of mayor. The other one that I have, and they're not related, they can go independently, is a amendment to the city charter that would take away the mayor's duties of being director of public safety and put forth a police commissioner and a fire commissioner. They would be, again, accountable and appointed by council, and that they essentially, city council would be the review board, a police review board, and the fire and police commissioner. As again, this is not an oddball idea. It's placed many places have police commissioners, fire commissioners, and they would be the administrators. They would make sure that the police and fire department is doing their job effectively, and keep tabs on what's going on. They wouldn't be involved with the police and fire commissioners. Wouldn't be involved in the day-to-day operations or policing operations. I mean, they wouldn't be at crime scenes. They wouldn't be at fires. But there's an enormous amount of paperwork due to the fact that, 50% of the Binghamton budget is funded by state and federal transfer payments. There's an enormous amount of compliance that has to be dealt with. There's an enormous amount of issues regarding overtime and liability, and the police commissioner and the fire commissioner, again, that would answer to city council and be appointed by them, would be the way to go. Now, this would correct some of the imbalances that we see in the city. It's a small city. Now, the only people that would be against this would be people that would want to run for mayor. People that think it's their turn, or they want to have a little club over there and hire.
So in other words, it's quite a few people in Binghamton, because I know a lot of people in Binghamton, maybe they don't want to run for mayor in the next 5 years, but somewhere down the road in the next 10 or 15 years, they want to run for mayor. So I can see that there will be a significant group opposed to your plan.
Well, all I can say is it's worked. I guess Batavia goes back to the 1950s. It's worked in small places with similar populations, bigger places. There's absolutely, and I told you this many times, Bob, if Binghamton was to have a mayor, it would be ceremonial. It would be a guy in a cardigan sweater that would come in on a Saturday and return all phone calls, go over the legal pad, return the phone calls, and then you could have somebody pose for pictures. But
so in other words, somebody just like me. So I could keep doing this show Monday through Friday. Then I come into my office at City Hall on the 4th floor at about 8 o'clock or 8:30 Saturday morning and take a look at messages, return phone calls as necessary, cut ribbons, raise flags, and do the other important things to show up and show people that as mayor I care about their organizations and their neighborhoods.
Yes, and you wouldn't be able to do any damage.
Exactly. That's why it's beautiful, because, I mean, left to my own devices, who knows what I might do. But as sort of in a situation as you're proposing, I would say that I could do relatively little harm. In fact, I think I would do a lot of good, because I would be, as you know, happy to speak when invited to speak as mayor, even though it would be a ceremonial position. And also, I'm good at returning phone calls. You know that.
Yes, I do. And one more thing on another thing on arches, the Johnson City Arch. There's a lot of these arches in California. I think Bakersfield, Stockton. They're just steel beams. There's no concrete over them, and they say welcome to Bakersfield or welcome to Stockton. I don't know. I don't know how Johnson City got roped into this. Somewhere along the line, they were misled, or they didn't follow it closely enough. And, I always thought that when they redid the Endicott Arch, I mean, that's in an odd place, 100 feet ahead or 100 feet behind. I mean, it's just not in a very attractive place. And I thought when they did all that work over there, I said, why didn't they straighten this thing out? I mean, it's not a great look. But
well,
anyway.
Don't get me started, because that also involved the DOT, and I don't want to go off on a DOT-related riff this early in the week.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I mean, it seems that you take public officials for their word that they had let this contract out and it was going to be repaired, and then it turned into really a $1 million plus disaster. But
it's sadly something to be expected, and one might argue, well, maybe Johnson City officials should have anticipated this. The fact is, till you actually start to do a real inspection, as the village found out, you don't know how bad it is. This is one of the key reasons, for example, why the DEC or the EPA is smart enough not to do just random tests for dangerous chemicals in people's water supply. Like, say, the bottom line is, if you start testing for forever chemicals or hydrocarbons or whatever in water supplies, you're going to find them. So the best rule of thumb is don't test unless absolutely necessary, because once you test it and you have on the record, oh my gosh, the levels exceed safe limits, then you're on the hook, and then it's going to cost millions of dollars, if not more, to rectify the situation. So, again...
Well, I just put a little benzene in my coffee in the morning.
Let's be honest. You don't know, in most cases, what you're drinking, and bottom line is you don't want to know, because it's like Dr. Sanjay Gupta, I think, said a couple weeks ago on his morning segment, they're only now starting to do real testing for the presence of microplastics in our water. And it's like, yeah, start testing, baby, because they're there, as well as, benzene and other hydrocarbons and forever chemicals. If you test for it, you're going to find it. And then once you get it documented in black and white, there's going to be heck to pay if you don't fix it. And nobody has the money to fix our water supplies. So
you mean, Bob, what do they call microbeads?
Microbeads, yeah, the same kind of...
They're in my colon right now and I don't know?
Yes, they are. They're probably in the toothpaste you're using. For some reason, Procter & Gamble, as well as other consumer product companies, thought it would be great to start adding microbeads into things like toothpaste and shampoo and body wash. It's like, oh, yeah, let's infuse everything that people expose themselves to on a regular basis, daily or more frequently. Let's start putting in microbeads and see how that goes.
Well, that's... one more thing. Finally, Bob, look, there is no choice. There is no absolute choice for any sane individual but to vote for Donald Trump. I mean, there is no choice. I don't like things that are going on. I don't like J.D. Vance. I have no choice, and most people have no choice. However, the other side is very adept at finagling, and they are united, and it wouldn't surprise me a bit if Donald Trump lost.
Hey, that's what it's shaping up as. And the thing with J.D. Vance, and I'm not saying he's weird. He has a beard, so as do I at the moment. That may be going soon. He's actually giving beards a bad name. So I'm thinking by the end of the week, my beard may disappear, at least between now and November 5th, because this whole thought that if you're a guy with a beard, that you behave that way.
Well, I think he comes off as the phony, and it's almost as if, Obama wrote his life story when nobody knew who the hell he was, and Vance did the same thing. It was almost like a preemptive strike. This guy is just a creation of the other guy there, the PayPal guy, the Peter Thiel. He's just a creation of that. There's so many holes in that guy's story, the J.D. Vance. It's not funny.
I know. It's like a Swiss cheese life story. Thank you. It's John from Binghamton with some observations. It's 10:33. This is Bob Joseph. All callers will be welcome, as long as you meet the requirements of the program. 607-772-1290. Binghamton Now on WNBF. WNBF. WNBF.com. Oh, Carol's back. She has something quick she wants to say. Yeah, what's going on, Carol?
Well, that French restaurant or whatever that fellow described it as, he didn't give a very good description as to the location, because you'd probably go right past it. Because those two places he talked about are set way back on the road. When you get to the big Walmart in Norwich, you just go a few more yards past the light, and it's right there on the right. It's a big white house. In fact, I'm going there today, not to that place specifically, but I will now.
Well, yeah, now I have to go, too, because I want a baguette.
Well, I was going to surprise you, but I thought I better not surprise you. I better forewarn you because I might not, it might get stale and I'll have to eat it myself.
Yeah, that might happen, which wouldn't be bad either. But thank you for giving me the very specific location information, so I'm not driving all around Norwich and looking confused.
You're about you're about a mile and a half or so out of Norwich proper yet when you come to it. It's a big white, old Victorian-looking house. Maybe not Victorian, but
nice.
Very close to the road, and it's got a parking lot. You'll see the parking lot as you're facing it to the right, and they have they have little sandwiches and things like that. I have not been in there in years.
Well, but you'll be going now.
Yeah, well, if you want a baguette, put in another request. What don't you like as far as...
I like anything. So if you do go up there... and
I am going.
Well, okay, when you go up there, just buy anything. Do they have anything with chocolate on it?
I will find out.
Yeah.
I'll call you on your... Well, you don't answer voicemail. You always have voicemail on that one number.
I know. I try. But here's the thing. If you go up there and you happen to find something that's got chocolate in it, try to get that. But whatever you get, if get something,
$5, you're paying me back.
I'll pay whatever it costs. I'll pay anything.
It's a couple bucks. There's nothing in there that's a couple bucks.
Right. No. Well, you got to pay for quality. But here's the deal, Carol.
Yes.
I'll reimburse you up to $20. So if you buy, I'm serious.
Cowabunga.
Yeah, and by the way, so if even if you can't get through to me, you could always stop by the station and drop it off and say, this is from Carol from Johnson City, and if I'm here, they'll find me. If I'm not here, don't worry. I'm good for the money. You'll get your money. Don't worry about it. Up to $20, okay?
Now, people are probably wondering, why am I going to Norwich? Well, back in the 70s when I had a Datsun, which are now Nissans, I used to go up there for service. There was a Datsun dealer up there. And at that very location, on the right-hand side, they're on a corner, there's an auto parts place there now.
All right. Well, drive safely and have a great trip.
God bless you.
Thank you. 1039 WNBF. Gary from the South Side, you're on the air.
Hey, What's wrong with that, John from Binghamton? He just fell out of a coconut tree.
Well, I don't know. I can't speak for him, but I did, and I'm feeling fine, baby.
Well, he's going to be happy to know that Trump's going to get rid of the EPA, so you don't have to worry about clean drinking water anymore.
Personally, I think he talks a big game. I say there's no way he's getting rid of the EPA. There's no way he's getting rid of the Department of Education. He's not getting rid of any department. Mark my words.
Well, I don't believe you, but I will tell you that I'm a little afraid for your job because 80% of the money that's spent on a presidential race goes to the media, and if he's going to end the elections, which he said that he's going to fix it, and we will never have to vote again. That's probably somewhere around $2 billion is not going to go to the corporate-owned media, and he's you can look at Project 2025. It's available to everybody. You can download it. It's 900 pages. They have a big section in there about what he's going to do with the communications. He's going to revoke PBS's licenses and so on and so forth. But his buddy, let me go on to say about Orbán over there in Hungary. They changed the media by telling the media owners, look, either you sell the media to my buddies or leave the country. And his buddies, like Trump buddies would be, took over the media, and it's no longer doesn't represent the people anymore. But I think, it's the thing is, I've listened to John for years. He's a Republican. He always complains about the Republicans, complain. But yet all he does is vote for Republicans. So I don't see voting for Republicans as a solution. And also, there's been a big run on couch covers. I don't know why, but they're selling couch covers like
maybe Mr. Pillow will expand his lineup to go from pillows to couch covers. I mean, maybe he could be called, instead of Mr. Pillow, Mr. Sofa.
Well, I'm certainly not going to vote for a 78-year-old convicted felon criminal that is going to take my rights to vote. I just don't. I don't think I need to go there.
Are you a Yankees fan?
Well, I suppose that's a trick question, but yeah,
it is a trick question because for so many decades the Yankees were run by a felon.
Well,
they were not run, but the boss was a convicted felon. He got convicted about 50 years ago of campaign-related felonies. So there.
Well, so what? He's not running for president of the United States.
I get it. Well, here's another trick question, Gary. Has this country ever had a president who's been a convicted felon?
Well, I would say I don't know anybody that's ever voted for a convicted felon for office. Now, this might be something new. Maybe you know something about the past that 100 years ago or something. But no, I don't. I don't see honest, hardworking Americans voting for a convicted criminal who's going to take away their rights to vote. Going to take away the Department of Education. He's going to go after the media. Anybody that's he perceived as an enemy, he's going to put in jail. I don't know. I don't for 1 minute think that a convicted criminal is going to do any good for this country.
All right. It was not a trick question. Trump is the first president in the history of this great country to have become a convicted felon. So, I mean, in that sense, if nothing else, he secured himself a position in the Guinness Book of Fun Records.
Well, how about tax breaks for billionaires? Does a billionaire really need a tax break? It sounds kind of odd to me.
But that's similar to a question: Does a talk show host in Binghamton really need a baguette? The answer to both questions is absolutely not, but it would be nice.
Well, I think your job's going to go away under Trump. I really do.
Please. He will take my job away over my cold, dead body.
Well, the owners, the corporate owners are just going to just get rid of any dissent.
Oh, do you think that the owners of this station, the corporate owners, would cower in the face of the former guy?
Well, I think they've been, look at your channel now. It's just nothing but hate, lies. I mean, some of the lies that come across from some of these hosts are just absolutely, it's like, really? I mean, you people can actually lie. On it. If Biden or not, if Clinton didn't change that Telecommunication Act, there's no balance. It's not like, okay, you have point, counterpoint. There's no point, counterpoint on. But you're the only show that allows a point, counterpoint. Now, you would be the only threat because the whole rest of the day is nothing but lies and innuendos, and I can't believe that somebody actually. Well, Rush Limbaugh never had a counterpoint on his show. There was nobody to balance Rush Limbaugh's show. And when you talk about the liberal media, it doesn't exist. Now, I have found a new media source. It's called Midas Touch on YouTube. And I saw it on YouTube over the weekend. They actually had a report. Now, I didn't get around to watching it, but I saw, because somebody put it on my Twitter feed, and I saw that they had a report that I should have clicked on, but I was pressed for time, but maybe I'll look at it later today. But it was definitely, I can't remember if it was about J.D. Vance. It might have been, but they had something that was, it looked like they had put together a montage of some of the statements that the candidate had made in the past. Yeah, the Midas Touch on YouTube, okay? They have updates like every couple hours. So, I get more news from them. And they're growing like crazy. I think they're up to 2 million, people that have signed up. And
now, is that the one that's run by Alex Jones?
No. This is the largest independent news organization on YouTube, okay?
All right.
They're independent, okay? And they report just what's, should be reported, okay? There's no bias there. It's like, you decide, and it's I would invite anybody to look at it, but, I'm not going to, but I have to tell you that I don't rely on the corporate media to give me the news anymore. I can find more independent news stories on YouTube. And it's
but you still have, but even because I know some other people who are relying more on YouTube these days than perhaps on mainstream media, but you still have to be a very, very discerning and skeptical viewer, because some of the stuff on YouTube might be factual, and then there are some things on YouTube that appear to be have little, if any, basis in fact. So go to YouTube or other social media platforms with caution. Be skeptical of everything.
Okay. Thank you.
Be skeptical of everything. Be skeptical of the news. Be skeptical of a talk show. Be skeptical of me. Don't rely only on me for your source of information. Yeah, listen to Sean Hannity. Listen to Mark Levin. Listen to Dan Bongino. Listen to Rachel Maddow. Listen to a wide array of opinionators and journalists. Remember, the names that I just mentioned, those 4 names, they are not journalists. Again, Bulletin, those 4 names, whether it's Rachel Maddow, Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, Dan Bongino, they're not journalists. They're offering opinions. Remember that. They're offering opinions. Nothing wrong with that. But remember, when you hear something on an opinion show, use that as a starting point. Then find out more. Remember what Ronald Reagan said? Trust but verify. It applies here with the media. Radio, TV, online. Radio and TV and stuff online can be informative and entertaining, but in this day and age, skepticism is so important. Be skeptical. Find out. More calls coming up. 607-772-1290. I'm Bob Joseph. You're listening to Binghamton Now on WNBF. Bob Joseph, we're here for you Monday through Friday. Getting it done. Getting it done. And remember, you can call in if you want. You don't have to. More than 99% of the people never call in. They just listen. Listen and learn and be entertained and informed. Hi, WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning there, Bob. It's Dave from Vestal. How's it going?
Oh, it's going so well.
Yeah, I've been listening. It's been going real well. Hey, I got to agree with John there. We do have no choice but to vote for Trump. I mean, look at what he's running against, Bob. I mean, come on. And he was actually being nice when he said he could envision Trump losing. And he was being nice, using the word with their finagling. I'll just say cheating. Let's just say it plain out. That's what it means by finagling, I imagine. But anyways, Bob, you were talking about the excitement in the air, and I had called Friday saying how the excitement for Kamala is fake, Bob. I mean, they're just excited that Joe's gone. They could nominate a ham sandwich, and they would get excited. It wouldn't matter who's sitting there, Bob. So what's going to happen now? Like I said, if they were to have a primary with a handful of decent governors they have there, the moderates, she would have come in last place. So now she's going to pick one of them, and everyone's going to think, oh, but that's okay. No, it'll be reversed. Remember, vice presidents do absolutely nothing because that's what she did. Absolutely nothing but whine about abortion. Oh, you know what, Bob? The people that are going to support her that are really excited about it, because there are some, Bob, they're the radical, far-left, liberal, progressive loons like her. Those are the only ones that are excited.
What do you mean,
about
the people that run NBC Olympics?
Yeah, Bob. Yeah, those people. Yeah.
I'm kidding, of course. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know.
Did that to elicit a chuckle.
I know, Bob. But yeah, that's what the excitement's all about. It's not for her. And don't let people, they're pulling your leg when they call in. And if they call in and say, oh, yeah, I love her, because we know that's baloney. With a little cheese, mustard, good.
Hey, what's not to love?
True, Bob.
I mean, she has young ideas. She has a different perspective than the same old perspective. You know, what has happened in this country over the last 2+ centuries is so much of the narrative has been actually written and directed by old white guys.
Radical, far left, liberal, progressive, Bob, they make up about maybe 5% of the country. They think...
Yeah, maybe that's true. But the vast majority of people like the idea of not having someone who is, I won't say that because I don't want to upset some of our more sensitive viewers. What they want is something totally different. Not someone who has served as president before, not a former guy. They want somebody who brings something new to the table.
But let's bring something new that's good. Good things, Bob.
Great things. That's what she's about. That's what they're telling us. Her campaign tells us that she's bringing good things to the table. She's like the old GE back when they brought good things to life. In fact, they should contact GE to see if they can get permission to use the old catchphrase from the company that specialized in light bulbs and refrigerators. It could be, and we don't know who her running mate will be. I think it's going to be a governor. Could be the governor of Pennsylvania or the governor of Minnesota. Probably Pennsylvania, because she needs Pennsylvania most of all. But say if it's Harris Shapiro, we bring good things to life.
You know, Bob, if she brings good things to the table, we're going to all starve. Because we won't like what she's feeding us, guaranteed.
Well, she certainly isn't going to be feeding us a diet of Big Macs and Whoppers. She's going to feed us delicious foods, fresh foods, all natural foods that'll be tasty and good for us.
Yeah, maybe she'll listen to Michelle Obama and ruin the kids' lunches, Bob. That went over real big, didn't it?
I never heard a kid complain about it.
They all did, Bob.
No, they didn't. That was a fabrication of the liberal media. The kids love those lunches. Come on, man. Those school lunches, that was a case where she should have used the phrase, making school lunch great again. That's the only reason her initiative about school lunches didn't do well. She didn't have a good catchphrase.
No, the kids just didn't want to eat that stuff.
Oh, all kids want is a steady diet of junk food. They want candy, they want gum, they want everything that's not good for them. They want salty snacks, they want the ice cream, they want anything that is not nutritious. They want everything that's delicious and filled with empty calories. I mean, that's the whole point of being a kid.
You're right, but they could have had a better mix and at least got some nutritional food in them instead of going overboard and making it all one-sided, Bob. The kids hated that.
Yeah, well, at least it wasn't like Ronald Reagan's administration where they started to classify ketchup as a vegetable. Well, come on, man, ketchup. And that was the ultimate indignity for kids who are eating lunch in schools across America, that Ronald Reagan, who had all of his food provided for free at the expense of the American taxpayers for 8 years, wanted to reclassify ketchup as a vegetable. Come on, man.
Should have called it a fruit, Bob, because tomato's really a fruit.
Either way, what they were doing was wrong, and they were trying to shortchange the nutritional needs of our growing children. What kind of kid can learn when they're sitting around all fueled with ketchup? I mean, the only place I know where they have a big warehouse of ketchup is down at Mar-a-Lago.
Bob, enjoy your day. I got to get running.
All right, see you later, alligator. Ketchup a vegetable. Oh, come on. Ketchup is a vegetable. Come on. In the Reagan administration's attempt to slash $1.5 billion from children's nutrition funding, school lunch program requirements were worded so as to conceivably allow for designating ketchup as a vegetable. I had to look it up. It's true. It's 10:58 at WNBF. It's 1111. That'd be a great name for a convenience store. 1111. Call us right now at 607-772-1290 if you have certain thoughts that you feel should be shared with the viewing audience. Here's the story about a man named Brady. No, here's a story about a man named Biden, the official. The official story, as carried by the New York Post website. President Biden unveiled his planned overhaul of the Supreme Court today with a clear eye on limiting the powers of former President Donald Trump, should he succeed him. The commander-in-chief took the unusual step of unveiling his plan in a newspaper op-ed, with the Washington Post helpfully telling readers the writer is President of the United States. Yeah, that's called policy. It's policy. When you publish an op-ed, you, as a matter of policy, identify who the writer is and why they might have a certain perspective. So, of course, the writer is, for the moment, President of the United States. He laid out three main changes to the court, which he said is mired in a crisis of confidence, including term limits and a binding code of conduct. Reading from a story on the New York Post website by Isabel Keene. The main focus is the court's recent decision to grant Trump broad immunity for any crimes committed in office, as it should be. I mean, think about that. Someone is above the law? Oh, come on, man. No one. in the United States is above the law, except now the president. Biden wrote in the op-ed, this nation was founded on a simple yet profound principle. No one is above the law, not the president of the United States, not a justice on the Supreme Court of the United States, no one. Well, certainly that statement is inoperative. It changed with the Supreme Court ruling. So, if you like the idea of someone in this country being above the law, then, of course, you support the recent ruling by the Supremes. It's 11:13 on WNBF. Let's take a call. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Martin from Binghamton.
Good morning, Martin.
Good morning. Yeah, about these cat ladies not having children, and just topic of the choice to not have children, and people that do have children will get more benefits or whatever, and that certainly isn't fair. I mean, you don't have children, do you, Bob?
I don't. I'm a childless dog guy. So that's the next thing J.D. Vance will be taking a shot at. Childless dog guys who host talk shows in upstate New York.
Yeah, and Trump was the first president in 104 years that never had a dog. So
I'll tell you this. What I don't know. That's a good point. Does Kamala Harris have a dog? Because I've never seen any indication she has a dog, or even a cat. Does she have a pet?
I don't know. That's a good point too, Bob.
If she doesn't have a dog, actually, it's not really advice. This actually applies to all the candidates, to former President Trump, who, as far as we know, never has had a dog, to J.D. Vance, who, I don't know. I was going to say something, but I don't want to go there because I don't want to offend some of the viewers who may be sensitive. I don't know if he's had a dog or a cat. Probably not a cat, since he was denigrating women who own cats. Kamala Harris and whoever her choice is for vice president, I suggest to them right now that they go to the nearest animal shelter and adopt one dog and one cat. And make sure you put it on social media and in your ads, because I guarantee whoever goes first, I mean, obviously, it would be smart for Kamala Harris to do it right now and get out in front of this. Now, you'll know, Martin, that Trump and Vance are worried when suddenly they start posing in videos with their pet dogs, like puppies. That will be a clear indication that they're scared of Kamala Harris.
Yes, and staying with childless parents. But on the other point, I have two grown daughters, and there's an old saying I learned from my friend too, that I love them, but I don't always like them. And because, they're adults and you're not always going to get along. But why is there a record number of grandparents raising their children's kids? Which I think is a great point. That's how hard it is. I know other than raising your own kids, the hardest thing in life is a relationship with another. And then another thing and point on that is, why is the divorce rate so high anymore? I mean, it's hard for people to get along in this society.
It's very difficult. Listen to this program for proof. I was just looking up to see a number of families in the United States by number of children who live in the household, number of children under 18. So the number of households in the United States that have no children under 18 has grown significantly between 2000 and 2022. The number of households with 3 or more children has gone down a bit. I was just looking up because I'm trying to find out what family has the most kids. Because, of course, it's Russia. A Russian woman and her husband are alleged to hold the record for the most children a couple has produced. So J.D. Vance probably likes her best. Guess how many children she gave birth to?
I have no idea.
According to the internet, 69 children.
Oh, Jesus.
That's the internet for you. I can't vouch for it, but can you imagine, by the way, that was she, according to the internet, she had those children between 1725 and 1765, so sadly she's no longer with us. Let's see. I'm looking at...
I wonder why.
The internet is wonderful. Is it possible to have 25 kids? According to the internet, the maximum number of kids you can give birth to is 15 to 30. So apparently in the 1700s, the numbers were different. So, but I can't imagine. Do you know? I mean, I know some people with some pretty big families, as in maybe 6 children, maybe even in a few cases more than 6. But I don't know many these days. Most of the people I know are either childless or maybe have up to 4 children. And I didn't know that this was something that was even a problem, that this was, until J.D. Vance brought it up, I didn't realize that if you're childless, you're in some ways less of an American. You know, now I'm concerned. I'm concerned, Martin, to the point where I think I have to work on this.
No, you're fine.
Am I okay? Am I okay?
You're certainly okay.
All right. Thank you for the reassurance. I'm a childless dog guy. I'm hesitant because if I interview, shouldn't say if, got to be positive. When I interview J.D. Vance and ask him, of course, the first most important question about childless cat ladies, and then I'll say, but what about the thing with childless dog guys? What do you think about them? And then I'll have to hold my breath and keep my finger crossed.
Yeah, well, you know, if you walk your dog in a park, whatever, like I do, different parks, and children see them, and I have an adorable little dog. I used to have a lot of German Shepherds, but this guy is pretty big, you know, for a miniature schnauzer. But anyway, he's very cute and everything else. And so I bring a lot of joy. Kids come over and they want to see him, and he's very friendly and stuff. So I give some joy to them, those children, you know, and sticking with the grandparents too. On the other side is that you read it all the time in the paper here too, that they have to fight to see their grandchildren because and I know one particular family that just happened to my friend. It's like, well, they had to go to court, and he said, well, you didn't let me go on that field trip when I was in high school, you know, and so they pulled the kids away after they've been around them for years. And so it works on the other side. I just believe that children are overrated.
I don't know if I would say children are overrated. I think it's great, and I admire people, whether they raise one child or many children. I admire them for what they do because I know there's a tremendous amount of sacrifice, and thank goodness they're in a position to be able to raise children and provide for them. Unfortunately, as most of our listeners know, there are a fair number of parents these days who, for whatever reason, maybe they don't have the money, maybe they've gotten mixed up in the criminal justice system, or they have substance abuse issues. For whatever reason, they're in no position to raise kids at this point, and that's why in so many cases, as you referenced earlier, we have a lot of grandparents who are raising young kids now.
Yeah, and the cost, they say now, is over $200,000 for each child to raise a child. I mean,
that's another point. I work in radio. I can't afford children. I mean, if I worked in an industry that paid, you know, I'm not saying I don't do good work, but if I worked in an industry, I don't know, if I had been smart and become an attorney, I would be able to afford a bunch of kids. I work in radio. I can't even afford peanuts.
Yeah. Well, look at 2 countries. Japan now is giving incentives to people. They need more kids. They need more.
Well, right. The Japanese population actually, to my understanding, their birth rate is negative now.
Yeah, and the Chinese are putting a limit on.
As they say, it's either it's feast or famine. But anyway, whatever happens to J.D. Vance, I hope he's happy. That's all I want. Martin, the same with Donald Trump or Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. Whatever happens to any of them, I hope they're happy.
Yes.
That's all I want. I want everyone just to be happy.
Their policies are their belief systems.
Sure, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'll say this about J.D. Vance or Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, or for that matter, Rachel Maddow. They're entitled to their opinion as much as I am. I'm not threatened by anyone else's opinion. No one, I don't care. And let me rephrase that. I am not threatened. I do care about other people's opinions, but I am not threatened. If someone's opinion is totally different from my opinion, I don't find it troubling.
No, if you can believe in God or you don't have to. That's
why we have America, the freedom of religion or the freedom not to believe in anything. If you want to worship whatever, you can, or if you don't want to worship anything, you can do that too. That is America. That is one of the freedoms that people in America are allowed to have.
Yes, it's the best experiment ever on the planet.
Yeah, it's not perfect. The one thing I'll say about the American experiment, it's imperfect, but it ain't too bad.
No, it's not. It's still the best game in town.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, Bob.
1124 at WNBF. Everybody has an opinion, and that's good. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Jesse from Owego, Bob. You know what? I'm very curious. Whatever happened to the Octobomb? You remember her? Didn't she have like 6 or 12 kids or something
I don't
like that?
know. Who? What? Where? Why?
Octomom. That's what I remember. God,
thanks a lot. Yeah. I had just finally gotten. Hold on. Oh gosh.
I tried not to ruin your day.
You did it.
Well,
so you look up on the now. Thank you, Jesse. I hope you're happy. So I looked up her on the internet, and guess how they describe her?
I'm afraid to ask.
Media personality. Nadia Suleiman.
When did the media start with her? Wait. Media mom?
No, media personality. So guess how old she is?
Old as dirt, probably now.
No.
She's probably 49.
Yes, she is. Exactly 49.
Are you serious?
I am serious. And stop calling me Shirley. So here's the thing. And now guess how many kids she's up to. Right? Because they have like an internet scoreboard of how many kids she has.
I'm guessing a dirty dozen.
Nope, 14. According to the internet. It says, I won't read her full name. She went by Natalie in the media, and she's an American media personality who came to international attention when she gave birth to the first surviving octuplets in January 2009. The circumstances of their high-order multiple birth led to controversy in the field of assisted reproductive technology, as well as an investigation by the Medical Board of California of the fertility specialist involved. See, I didn't even know, or maybe I forgot, about the controversy. I thought she just had lots of kids, and so they made it into a TV show. I forgot the backstory.
Oh my gosh! Only in California. Okay.
Because today I'm trying to be kinder and gentler because it's the Monday program. I did have something that came to mind, but I decided, no, I'm not going to offend any viewers with that sort of trite statement.
Well, the last thing we want to do, Bob, is offend anybody.
I don't want to offend anybody, at least of all on Mondays. I don't care the rest of the week. If people are offended, that's just the way things go. just between you and me, Jesse, I think some people wake up offended. They start Monday morning off, and they start a brand new week off, and they're already pre-offended.
Well, you know what? This is the way I call it Manic Monday, Bab.
Yeah, and it's like, doesn't matter what I say. Even today, you know me, I've said nothing that's offensive, and yet there's probably somebody out there taking offense.
You know what? As soon as you push that button from audition to on air, they might as well write down offense just above it. They should.
Well, you know, the great thing about America is we have a right to be offended, and we also have a right not to be. You know, if you're offended, look, some people are offended by the weather deck. I don't know why. What did the weather deck ever do to you? Nothing.
That's very true.
You know, and yet some people are, I've talked with people, and man, you would think that something, you know, somebody associated with the weather deck did them wrong, and it's like, you ask them a couple of questions, you find out nothing happened, and it has zero impact on their lives, but they're still torn about it.
You know what, Bob? If I can wake up and walk down the street and offend at least one person a day, it's like taking that old vitamin way back in the day.
You say mission accomplished.
There you go.
All right. Thanks. Hi, my name's Bob. It's Monday. Please don't be offended. Good morning. It's 11:29. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Paul from West Windsor.
Yeah, what's going on?
Well, I like the part where you said everybody should listen to different news sources and everything, and I thought that was a great idea, but I would like to try to get Newt Gingrich on your program, either by phone or in the studio. He's one of the smartest men I know. He's lived history. He's a great historian, and he's been in politics for so many years. He knows about the mistakes and what has gone on in this world. Could you get him as a speaker on your show?
Well, I'm not going to seek him out, but if he calls, this is your assignment. Paul, you contact Newt Gingrich and tell him that Bob Joseph wants to speak with him on Binghamton Now.
Well, I don't know if he wants to hear from Paul, but I'll try.
All right. This is my pledge to you. Remember my email address. You tell Newt Gingrich that if he wants to be on the program, send an email to bob@WNBF.com, and I'll get him on the show tomorrow. Because
he's a wisdom and wealth of history, and he was Speaker of the House with Clinton. He's just an astounding man, and I hope we don't lose him because he's getting up there in years, but he's so smart, and if people would just listen to a little bit of him, that would make a big difference.
Well, I promise this. If he agrees to come on the program tomorrow, I'll chat with him for the whole hour.
All right. I'll see what I can do.
Okay. Remember, just let Newt Gingrich know, bob@WNBF.com. And I have no guests scheduled for tomorrow, so he could choose the hour, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, or 11 o'clock, okay?
Got it.
All right. See, that's how we roll. I would love to be able to ask Newt Gingrich a few questions. 607-772-1290. My name's Bob. What's your name? Give me a call. Let's talk. Listen on the WNBF app, and you'll be glad you did. Now, from WNBF, the weather. As told to you by the staff announcer. Mostly sunny today, 86. Partly cloudy tonight, 66. Increasing clouds tomorrow with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, 87. It's going to sound so much better when AI is rolled out here. Partly sunny Wednesday, showers and thunderstorms likely, mainly in the afternoon, 85. And Thursday should be nice, mostly sunny, warmer, 90. Right now it's 75, that's 24 Celsius at WNBF for the Celsius crowd. Those scientifically oriented people. Guidance from the National Weather Service, scattered showers and thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon into Wednesday. Then again, Friday may produce heavy downpours that lead to localized small stream and urban flooding. So, just yet one more thing for you to be concerned about. The Supreme Court. If you could pick one person to be the next justice on the Supreme Court, who would you choose? Matt from Binghamton? Tish from Albany? Rudy from Manhattan? There's a pick. Next Supreme Court justice, if you could pick one. Hi, WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Bob. DJ from Binghamton. Hey, I was wondering why nobody's talking about the Olympics this morning and Emily McKay from Binghamton University. What's been going on? What have you seen good in the Olympics, Bob?
Oh, I'm not watching. What have you seen?
You don't watch them? I like Jade Carey, but she kind of stepped outside the boundaries of her floor routine. And I sent you that picture. Did you get that picture in the email I sent you?
Yeah, here's a rule of thumb. What was it?
It was all the Olympic swimmers inside the pool.
Yeah, here's a rule of thumb. Don't send me those pictures.
Why?
Because I don't need to see. I've got my own internet.
Oh, are you anti-America? I thought you were pro-America.
No, I'm anti people sending me pictures of stuff that aren't going to be used for my news content. I have too many emails coming in, so don't send pictures. If you see, I won't then. Okay, yeah, it's not to be mean. It's for self-preservation. I have thousands of emails pouring in constantly, so people who send pictures and links and things like that are not directly related to my news job, it wears me down.
It does. Okay.
Well, I'm just saying, it's not to be mean. I need to preserve my energy. When thousands and thousands of emails come in that don't have anything to do with my local news reporting, then it makes my life infinitely harder because I'm trying to produce the very best local news stories, but I also then have to push through dozens of emails every day that have nothing to do with the local news report I'm trying to do. That's the only reason I point that out. I
totally understand.
Yeah. So again,
I totally understand. Yeah. I don't think you're being mean. It's just
I say that I make the request respectfully.
I liked it, and it was an uplifting moment. I thought that
it was. It was. It was uplifting.
It's all about bring them home now.
Right.
Bring them home now.
That was uplifting and certainly heartfelt. So I'm not saying it was inappropriate. I'm just saying it's stuff like that just, honestly, I don't know why. There must be something wrong with me because now every day I feel tired.
Do you?
Yes, because I'm getting so many emails about things that have nothing to do with my job. I'm tired of seeing stuff that is off topic. And by the way, I'm only pointing this out. This has nothing to do with your email specifically. I'm telling you, about 97% of the emails I get flooded with every day have nothing to do with my job. And the worst thing is, and you have nothing to do with this, but I just, in an effort to explain why I get so tired, so much of the stuff is from these ad agencies and PR firms, and they start off with, Bob, hope this email finds you well. And it's like, yeah.
Oh, that's junk mail. There's a way to filter that out. That's junk mail.
I know, and I filter out.
As a listener, you should be happy, Bobby. You should be happy. Except for when that guy from California called. I heard that guy from California call. He sounds like Kermit the Frog here, talking about the former guy.
Why would you do that?
God eats issue.
Why would you do that? Criticize someone's voice.
Bob, What do you mean criticize someone? He called up making fun of the president, and you laughed right along with him. You were guffawing right along with him.
What did he say? What did he say?
Both of you were making fun of Donald Trump, making fun of him wicked bad.
About what? About what? Not about his voice.
About the president.
About his behavior. It's one thing to criticize people for their behavior, which, look, if you can't behave like an adult, you got a problem. As president, what this country needs is someone to behave like an adult. So, I'm not criticizing anyone for their voice or for their looks, but I may make some observations if they can't behave like an adult.
Yeah, it was just an observation. He sounds just like Kermit the Frog.
Okay, well, you're criticizing. Okay, no, it's not criticism. You're making an observation about something that someone has no control over. So, if I say something usually about the former guy, it has something to do with an aspect of his behavior that he could control if he only chose to.
Well,
but he has no desire because his behavior is viewed as amusing or empowering to his base. So he's not going to change his behavior. Why would he change his behavior at this point?
The guy that says he's from California calls up to be funny and entertaining, and I'm just making a point.
Yeah, so you're observing. I don't want people to make observations about how someone's voice sounds. They have no control over it. I have no control over how my voice sounds. I feel blessed that I have a voice that sounds like I should be on the radio. But what if something happens someday to my voice, which it could at any given time, and my voice suddenly doesn't sound like it does now? And it could happen, and it has happened with people, say, on radio or TV. So every day that I wake up and still have my voice, I'm grateful, but I also don't criticize other people's voices.
Bob, keep talking over me, but I'm telling you this. You know I'm right.
All right. 11:42 at WNBF. There are a lot of people who have voices that are different from mine or different from DJ's. Not everybody can sound as good as DJ. It's just the voice we have at the moment. So if someone sounds like something else, you can think that. I understand how you think. Well, that person's voice reminds me of... You can think that. I don't know that it's particularly wise to discuss it on the radio, because what happens if your voice changes? My voice... I have a recording of my voice when I was, let me think, 11 years old. Someday I'll play that recording on the radio. And trust me, my voice when I was 11 did not sound like this. And then suddenly, I don't know, a year or two later, my voice started to sound more like this. I can't help it. I had no control. All I will say regarding my voice, regardless of who you think I sound like, I'm glad I have this voice as opposed to the voice I had when I was 11. It's 11:43 at News Radio WNBF. Do you have comments about the issues? What do you think about this plan to overhaul the Supreme Court? I thought the lines would be ringing off the hook. Term limits for Supreme Court justices? Really? Is that something this country needs? I don't know. I'm hearing about this morning for the first time. The Biden-Harris plan for term limits for Supreme Court justices, and yet nobody seems to care. I would have thought that the lines would be melting down with comments for and against. 607-772-1290. I'm Bob Joseph. You're listening to News Radio WNBF. Freedom. 607-772-1290. Still, nobody cares about this plan for term limits for Supreme Court justices. All right, well, I'm sure you'll hear more about it this afternoon on the Dan Bongino's show. I'm sure he has a thought or two, but clearly our listeners, guess you're okay with it, huh? All right. Well, that's a pretty bold idea. It's big and it's bold. Let's see. WNBF.com, the source of news here in the Twin Tiers. In case you missed our report, you can take a look right now online. Sadly, a long-time business in Susquehanna County was seriously damaged by fire. I was going to drive down to see for myself, and then I thought, the problem with a situation like this is, because I wanted to drive down when the fire was being battled at the Coconut Market on Route 267 in Friendsville, but I know from past experience it would have been a fool's errand for me to try to get there because they had set up fire police, and fire police wouldn't let me, a reporter, through to the scene based on past experience. If it was state police or sheriff's deputies or local police, they would let me through, but fire police would not let me through to the scene because, who knows, just because. So I decided not to go to the scene to cover it because it would probably be too much of a imposition to somehow convince someone that as a reporter I should be able to go to the scene of news. So that's always the downside of covering things. I always, if there's breaking news, I try to decide, is there a reasonable chance that I'm going to have access to the news scene? And if there's a reasonable chance I can get there to report on it, then I'll probably go. If there's a likelihood that somebody won't let me near the news scene, then I say, well, what's the point? And that was pretty much the point Sunday morning when that fire was happening. I knew they had fire police shutting down the roadway, and pretty sure, based on past experience, the fire police would say, oh, no, you can't go cover that story. You're a reporter. Don't cross this spot. Whereas if it was state police running traffic control at the scene, I know a trooper, especially a certain trooper, would say, sure, Bob, go down to the scene. You're a professional journalist. You have every right to cover a story. So that explains why, fortunately, we did have some pictures taken by Tracy Taylor from the Hawk. So fortunately, we had some pictures. But I decided, she fortunately was down in that area. If I tried to go, I think I would probably be sadly out of luck based on past experience. It's 11:49 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Walter. I'm calling from Owego.
Yeah, Walter. What's up?
Well, I just heard what you said. It's a shame we don't have that many real, live, local reporters that can report on local activities, and to have you being restricted from accessing the scene of that fire, that's really unfortunate. Hopefully maybe you can talk to those folks at the department and just maybe they can talk to the folks that are, great volunteers doing the fire police. That's an important task, but they should let a reporter in, for heaven's sake. That's my thought.
Well, and let me be clear. I didn't even bother going down because, and I've never had actual experience with the fire police, say at Silver Lake or those particular fire departments. I just know from experience with fire police with other stories that they generally have a different view of reporters than, say, state police or sheriff's deputies or local police, because most law enforcement officers, once I identify myself and say, look, I'm a legitimate reporter, can I get to the scene? Of course, I'm going to not get in the way. They usually say, yeah, go down, but be careful and go over on that side, and you might want to talk to somebody. But a lot of times with fire police, even for the most minor situations, I had one case, and I won't be specific, where local fire police, it was like one of the most minor of fires, but it was still at an important newsworthy scene. and it was all under control. It was a fire that was extinguished within a matter of minutes, and they were like, get out of here. Well, I won't use... I wasn't taking notes and I wasn't recording, but it was interesting how some fire police apparently just don't like reporters.
Well, it's unfortunate. Such a tradition of reporters on the scene, as you said, obviously not in the way, but they're reporting so we can hear and see and understand what happened. So I just wanted to let you know that. As soon as I heard it, I thought, doggone it all. They need to modify that.
Oh, thank you.
Just a little bit.
Thank you. I mean, not many people have anything to say to support journalists these days, so I appreciate it.
Well, there you go. Have a great day, Bob.
Thank you. And again, I respect fire police. I respect volunteers of all types, volunteer firefighters, the volunteer fire police, EMS, and so on. I have the utmost respect for them, but my experience trying to cover breaking news, I won't say never, seldom have difficulty reporting on stories if the scene is secured by law enforcement. And again, it could be local police officers, sheriff's deputies, or state troopers, or even the FBI and other authorities. But if it's fire police, I've learned I guess it must be part of their training. Don't let reporters through. And that's just like whatever. You control the media. I guess you control the message for whatever reason. You're a reporter. We don't like you. Which is interesting because in some cases, in fact, most cases, when it comes to the volunteer departments, I have a great rapport with the fire chiefs and the assistant chiefs. It's just sometimes the fire police are like, well, they made me fire police, and I'm certainly not gonna make an exception for a reporter. Nobody's allowed through, especially reporters. So you stay where I told you, and it's like, well, you don't have a choice, or they threaten you with, or else you'll be arrested. And again, I understand they've been trained apparently a certain way, and so that's why sometimes if you wonder why some stories, why are the reporters a mile or 2 miles away from the scene? Well, usually there's a pretty good reason for that. It's not the fault of the reporter. No, the reporters can only do as much as they can. I'm not gonna push my luck. 11:54 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Tom from Susquehanna. You know what, Bob? I want to address that, why they don't want to talk to reporters. All right?
Tell me, why wouldn't they want to talk to reporters?
Okay. Well, just what you did before. You had the guy that calls up, that Bible thumper guy from, I guess he's from Binghamton, He's sort of religious. And he made that comment about the guy from California.
Yeah, comparing his voice with a cartoon character.
Right. There was nothing malicious in that. It's just the facts, And it completely turned out differently. And by the way, if they see an insurance guy at the scene, he'll probably let you do it. I worked as an insurance adjuster there for a couple of years, way back. Oh,
I've worked with insurance adjusters and insurance investigators at fire scenes, and they've been very helpful.
Yes, exactly right. That's what I wanted to tell you. Also, Bob, I want to talk about this abortion thing. When you go on a scene and you find a body, and I'm sure you've been on many scenes and got there early before even the EMS, what is the first thing that the cop does when he gets on the scene? Well, you know what it is? He checks for a pulse, Bobby. Is that right?
Right. They have to ascertain whether there's any life. If not, they'll call it in as code black.
All right. So listen, that's why, like with this abortion thing, I believe you should have abortion.
But if the heartbeat is detected, you have a life. And this idea that, the Republicans are banning abortion. No, they're just giving it back to the states, and it's up to the states. I don't agree that if you have a mother of, say, 5 kids, and it's a question of her life and the baby's life, well, then you have to make the exception. But it's been so misrepresented that it drives me nuts. You know that? What you say?
Well, I believe in women having a choice. I know on this station that's offensive to some people. So, and as far as certain states banning abortion, well, obviously those states can do what they want, but I don't understand why men think that they can control women's bodies, but they want to. So
it's not a choice. They can do whatever they want, but and abortion, there's been more abortions since they overturned Roe versus Wade. That's another thing that's misinterpreted. It was bad law to begin with, but I agree. Once a heartbeat is out there, then the baby should try to be. I mean, you see some people. Well, I don't know personally.
Hey, we're running out of time. The program has ended. I hope you can call in later in the week.
All right, I'll try to do it. But
all right.
I got a real busy week.
All right.
Take care, buddy.
Thanks, Tom. That's our program. Have a great afternoon listening to WNBF.